The new season is finally here with a surprising amount of weapon changes, which is always nice to see. But of course, with weapon changes comes a shift in the meta, so today we're gonna go over what's possibly the 3 best weapon combos for this season. But guys, real quick before we get into that, I have to tell you this so you don't miss this rare opportunity. If you want instant access to literally hundreds of Apex guides, you need to head over to the GameLeap website and join the family with this 50% discount code. That's 50, not 15, 50. We literally cover everything from settings to positioning to specific legend guides, all super in depth to help you actually improve. So don't miss this opportunity to join us by clicking the link in the description below and using code S15 to get a huge 50% discount now. Alright, starting off with the best all-rounder and aggressive play loadout is using the R301 as your primary weapon. The R301 remains unchanged this season and has an incredible amount of consistency at a wide spread of ranges. Now, the map right now is pretty interesting with quite a bit of open space, but also a lot of areas where you can end up in close quarter engagements. On top of that, the map has the new zipline system, which while it is fun, it actually can add quite a bit of randomness, third parties, and unpredictability to the fights, making this gun the perfect option to quickly handle the shifts in range that will be happening. On a map where inconsistencies and rapid changes are to be prominent, a gun that is easy to use and predictable is going to be a kind friend to you. But the big thing is that there is a lot of open space that we're going to be dealing with in these maps, and also a lot of choke points, and the R301 just handles those situations very well. No, you're not going to be sniping people all the way across the map with it. However, it just generally handles a wide variety of situations well, and especially situations that are in open areas. Now, for our secondary in this loadout, a great pairing with it will be the Mastiff. With the PK and the Crafter and the EVA 8's inability to get a real good consistency outside of 10 meters, that leaves us with the Mastiff. One of my favorite things about the shotgun is that it is very easy to be consistent with. Though its fire rate is not quite as fast as the EVA, it's certainly faster than the PK without losing much burst potential. Of course, its range isn't quite as good as the PK either, but the built-in choke does allow it to be versatile enough to carry alongside something like a charge rifle, for example, with relative ease. Shotguns are still incredibly strong in Apex, nothing has changed here, but the Mastiff is just a very consistent option to pair with your R301 to handle the close quarters engagements when you or the enemy are closing in on each other. Especially when it's unexpected, the faster fire rate will help tremendously with situations where you're caught off guard or you're trying to handle multiple enemies. You of course can change this to any shotgun you like, but the Mastiff is definitely not a weapon to be slept on, and I highly recommend you pairing it with the R301 for more W key mentality plays, but also for its overall consistency as a whole. Now, I will say, this loadout is good. In particular, this loadout is good for aggressive players, pubs, entry frags, and even secondary frag players. However, if you tend to lean towards the more aggressive side of things and like to W key, you can also switch up the R301 for the flatline. Really, this does come down to preference. However, the beautiful thing about the flatline is that it has a significantly higher damage per magazine compared to the R301, which in turn makes it much easier to deal with multiple enemies and also to get one clips at mid to long ranges, as long as you hit your shots. And that's the caveat. The flatline is a bit more difficult to control at longer ranges, and as we stated earlier, this map has a lot of open space, which can easily translate into long range fights. However, because there is a lot of enclosed areas as well, and the dynamic of the fight's range can shift so quickly due to things like the zip line and everything we spoke about already, the flatline is a fantastic gun for being able to handle situations where you need more damage output per magazine. A great example of this is if you are shooting a player who is at mid range, but then suddenly you get flanked because another one of their teammates took the zip towards you or used a movement ability. Well, now you are in a 1v1 that you weren't expected to be in with only so much of your magazine left, but because the flatline has such a high damage per magazine, it helps to offset such circumstances. And I am very certain that there will be a lot of situations where this sort of thing happens on this map. But of course, the higher damage per magazine also helps tremendously in close quarters because it reduces the amount of times you have to reload, which reduces the amount of time you're left vulnerable. So for more aggressive plays, and if you generally just prefer the flatline, then that's likely the play. However, if you want overall consistency across all ranges with little variance making your fights more predictable, then the R301 is for you. Alright, for our next loadout, the main weapon is the Scout. The Scout is undeniably a strong weapon, its damage output is insane, it's super easy to use, and it's surprisingly versatile for a marksman weapon. Not to mention, it also got a slight buff to its recoil when using the burst fire mode, so that's nice. But with the Scout, you don't even need to use the double tap trigger, and the single fire mode is insanely good, so that means you're not limited by attachments, especially when you consider that its ammo capacity when only using a white mag, well, it has the biggest increase to capacity compared to other guns, and you honestly can get away just fine without a purple magazine. Its fast fire rate makes it a very forgiving gun, and it's just really strong option for this very open map. The one big issue with the Scout is that while its ability to hipfire is decent, it is anything but consistent. So pairing it with a very strong close range weapon is easily the play, which is why the Car SMG is our secondary to this loadout, which I know you're probably expecting a shotgun, but hear me out. The Car is the strongest close range SMG, and it will easily synergize well with the Scout, allowing you to switch its ammo type to light. And since the Scout doesn't need attachments nearly as much, you can feed your purple magazine to your Car instead and be a happy camper all around. This loadout will allow you the ability to handle that shift in dynamic without issue, and will make it easy to progress faster than other players with other loadouts. If you aren't a fan of the Car SMG, you could also switch it out for a Mastiff if you desire. This allows you to have a lot of extra backspace for things like heals and grenades, helping out with more tactical plays such as playing power positions. But if you want something a bit more versatile in regards to dynamic shifts in range, which again, that's going to be happening a lot on this map, then the Car is going to make sweet love to your soul. And for our final loadout, our primary weapon is, to be said with great regret, the charge rifle. Look, I know a lot of people love the charge rifle, but most of you know how I feel about it. But how I feel about charge rifle Charlie griefing me from the other side of the planet doesn't change the fact that it is clearly going to be S tier on this map. With so much open space and its ability to be so consistent at long range fights with little effort makes this an easy pick if you are trying to get some RP. The issue with this is that it limits your options by quite a bit since it chews up ammo like no tomorrow, meaning running a shotgun is probably the play to help you save space for sniper ammo, and I'm sure you've already guessed which shotgun it is. That's the Mastiff. The EVA and the PK are still options here. However, the EVA really struggles in regards to versatility and is more consistent for really close quarters aggressive fights, and the PK is in the crafter, and the Mastiff is easy to find on the floor and really consistent all things considered, as we said earlier. So due to these facts, plus it having a bit more range than the EVA makes it an easy choice as a secondary for the cringe rifle. The main thing you need to keep in mind with this loadout is that it is basically 0 to 100, close to no in between, so this would be a really good pick for support players who tend to remain in either very close or longer ranges. I will throw this out there though, if you are really good with the wingman, then you could run charge rifle wingman. A little bit out there, but again, hear me out. They share ammo types and the wingman still doesn't require very much anyways, especially when you aren't using it for long ranges, so this helps with the backspace situation. The wingman is very versatile and really strong for those close to mid ranges, which is exactly where the charge rifle suffers. And when using the wingman, you still have a burst weapon for playing around Gibby's bubble or Newcastle's tactical. The issue here is the shared attachments, which could become a problem if you aren't very proficient with your wingman shots. But that one is a bit more of a theory craft. I felt I needed to say it because it was on my mind. I feel like I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't bring it up. So try it out, see if it works for you. And that basically sums up our top 3 loadouts for season 15. So do you agree with our list? What loadout are you going to be using this season? Let us know in the comments below. This has been John A. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, love you, bye.